America earnings kick off earnings week with a 32% jump in profits, and yet the financial powerhouse's stock is down 0.5% right now in this final hour. It had been worse. It was down more than 1.5% earlier, but we've got 53 S&P 500 companies and 7 Dow stocks set to report earnings this week. Which names will deliver a stronger punch to push markets higher? To the floor show, we've got traders at the New York Stock Exchange, the CME Group, and the NYMEX. Scott, this morning, futures were firmly in the red. Bank of America earnings came out. They were good enough to turn a very negative futures picture around. And now everybody wonders, with about 15 minutes left to trade, can the optimism hold on before being vaporized? It's sort of a what have you done for me lately market.
Yes, and I think traders are taking it step by step. Last Thursday, we hit a low of 27.10 in the S&P cash, and as you can see today, Liz, the reason why we're going back and forth is because we're playing with a very important number in the S&P cash, the 200-day moving average. That's 27.65. Right now, we're a little bit above it. What is it, 3:10 in the afternoon? I think if we could hold 27.65 and close well, I think we could have some type of oversold bounce that could take us back to 2800 to 2830, and that's when the sellers need to come back and say, hey, we're not done with this corrective phase. But as of now, the next day or so, we're looking to see, can we get above 27.65, and how does Netflix react after its report on Tuesday? That'll be very, 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 did I say very? Very important for FANG names.
Why don't you just say very and then cube it? Okay, Alan Nuckman, tell me what you're seeing. I always like to ask you guys at the CME about the trading flows, because on a Monday, you see some investors waking up, or even some big program trades for some of the bigger funds, and they start kicking in. They're either buying or they're selling. Right now, we got the Dow at 52 points, but what are you seeing? Where's the interest?
Well, volatility is opportunity. We always have to remind ourselves about that. Let's talk about last week. It was an unkind unwind, but it was overdue. We had gone essentially straight up. We lost 4% last week. Nothing catastrophic. It felt a little bumpy, though. We saw the VIX shoot up to 29, almost the 30 level, which is the halfway mark of the 50 high that we had in February to the lows at 10. So we got to the halfway point, but now we're selling off. We're at the 20 handle right now, which is a 30% drop. The markets that I'm paying attention to this week, the stocks, individual stocks that have earnings, I'm looking at IBM just because I want to see how they transition to the cloud. If you remember where Microsoft was about 3 years ago, people thought it was a dinosaur. It was over. I think IBM's in a similar position, and it's holding that support at 140. It's a stock that's traded between 140 and 150.
Are you kidding? April. I mean, you and Warren Buffett. I mean, Warren Buffett finally cried uncle on IBM. Yeah, it's up at 0.5%. But I'm telling you, the annual high is $171. Right now, we're looking at 141. I'll leave that for you to stew on. But Luke Rabari, let's talk about oil. I would have thought that oil would be a lot higher, because we've now got this very upsetting tension with Saudi Arabia. The president has said if it turns out that Saudi Arabia was somehow involved, there will be major punishments. And then, of course, Al Arabiya, which is the Saudi-run network over there, said, and we can put up the banner here because it caught my eye, forget $80 a barrel oil. If there are sanctions, you could be looking at $400 barrel in oil per barrel, Luke. Is it 400? What is that? Crazy.
Well, Liz, I'm not gonna talk about you, but I've been around so long that I remember peak oil, and I remember the fact when oil got down to 20 and nobody needed oil anymore. So $400 oil, I don't know. But I will say this. With Davos in the desert going on and this act happening, if the regime wasn't behind it, it looks bad for them, and it's affected their meetings and Davos and the investment in Saudi Arabia. If they were behind it, it looks bad for them because of obvious reasons. Net, it looks bad for them. So there is some risk now. And you are seeing people saying oil might go up a little more. We might have to hedge some of our positions, buy some protection if something happens in Saudi Arabia. But again, fundamentally, we're sticking to that 75 number, not only because it's a magical number, but at that point, there'll be other producers who will come in and they'll saturate the market. So for now, you just got to watch it carefully. It could have a spike, but 400, I don't know.
Yeah, it's maybe wishful thinking on behalf of a country that is soaked in oil. Good to see all of you guys. Thank you very much. Right now, the Dow holding up 50 points. A dark day at